Hello, I'm Charlotte Hollins from Fordhall Farm.
Hello, welcome to Fordhall Farm. I'm Ben Hollins, I'm the farmer.
And I'm Ben's sister.
Our family have been farming here for 7 generations, and it's something I really enjoy because I love working outside and I love being my own boss.
I actually work in the office at the farm, and I actually work for the trust that owns the farm.
So come in and we'll show you around. These are some of our Gloucester Old Spot pigs. All the pigs on the farm are free range. They're all outdoors in paddocks like this. You've seen some of the piglets over there which are outdoors as well. The reason we have Gloucester Old Spot pigs is they're quite a slow growing breed. They put on a bit more fat than other breeds, but it gives the meat a lot of flavour. And because we market all of our produce direct, we want to give people something different, so we've got a niche market. And our unique selling point here is Gloucester Old Spot pork, which actually has a lot of flavour, unlike a lot of conventional pork.
This is our mum, Connie. Say hello, Mum.
Hello.
She helps in the house.
A little bit.
And she helps at farmers markets, don't you?
The pigs are all fed a completely GM-free diet. It's not organic because it's too expensive, but the GM-free feed as close as we can get to having a natural diet without actually pushing the price of the pork up too much.
Fordhall Farm has been in our family for generations, but only ever as tenant farmers. And a few years ago, our landlord was trying to evict us to sell the land from development. Fortunately, Ben and I were able to get first refusal option from the landlord, but we had a year to raise £800,000, bit of a steep amount. I was only 21, Ben was 19, I just graduated from university, and we had this amazing opportunity to secure our family home, but £800,000 was a lot of money and we couldn't afford to do it, and there was no way we could afford to get a mortgage and pay that mortgage off on a farmer's income. On top of that, we were so young and didn't have the experience to back it.
Right, to the pub. Right, now let's go and move these pigs.
So we had to look for alternatives, and that actually came in the way of a community ownership scheme. We asked the local community what they wanted from the farm, where they would like to see it go in the future, and we then put that with what we wanted from it as farmers and where we would like to see it go in the future. And it was actually by putting those two things together we created the society that we've now got today. We called it the Fordhall Community Land Initiative. It's an industrial and providence society, and we were able to sell non-profit making shares at £50 each to raise £800,000 that we needed. We ended up having only 6 months to do that in, and 24 hours before the deadline was successful. So Fordhall Farm is now owned by over 8,000 shareholders from across the UK and abroad. We've got about 300 shareholders outside of the UK, and that has now put the farm into trust. It's owned by them as a non-profit making enterprise. They can never make any money from their shares, but it does give them a right to vote in the AGM, and it does give them part ownership of the farm.
I'm the tenant farm at Fordhall Farm, which works really well for me because it means I've lots of different people who want to get involved in the farm. Also, there's 8,000 people who are all shareholders and they all have a genuine interest. So whenever we meet these shareholders, it's great to stop, have a chat, and they want to know how the farm's going and that kind of thing. Occasionally people come down and help out too. If the 8,000 people hadn't all bought shares in the farm, we wouldn't be here today. Part of the farm would have probably been developed and God knows what would have happened to the rest. I'd have probably been doing some office job somewhere. This is our farm shop. On the farm we sell all of our own produce through the shop, which is beef, lamb and pork. We also stock a lot of local produce from other local producers. We rear Hereford and Aberdeen Angus cattle, Suffolk and Texel sheep and Gloucester Old Spot pork. We send all of our animals off to the abattoir, which we take ourselves. They get delivered back as carcasses, and then we butcher and process all our own meat on the farm, sell it through the farm shop here, through our online shop and through farmers markets, or through local catering companies which we supply occasionally. If people didn't support local producers and buy local, our farm just wouldn't be profitable. We market all of our own produce ourselves, so we get all the added value. So we're cutting out all the middlemen, and this is the only way in which our farm is viable. Without doing this, we would really be struggling on the bottom line. At the moment, there's only one other person employed on the farm, and that's a part-time butcher, as well as myself. We occasionally employ casual labour on weekends to help with farmers markets and hog roasts in the farm shop. We're just waiting for the vet to arrive. We've got some of the cows and some of the heifers in at the moment. The vet's going to come and PD these, and then we can check if they're pregnant or not. If they're not pregnant, they'll go back in with the bull, and hopefully they'll be served to calve next spring. There's a couple of heifers at the back which are going to be jabbed because they're going to calve the wrong time of the year. So we'll jab them, and then they'll go back in with the bull and they'll calve in the spring.
6:30 in the morning, and Ben and I are going to the abattoir with a pig.
Well done.
Well done.
Yeah, we're just leaving with our two girls. It's 7 o'clock in the morning, so we'll hopefully get there in good time. One of the pigs is going to be for a hog roast, which we've got next weekend at a party nearby, and then the other one's going to be for curing, for bacon and for hams and sausage meat. It's Thursday today, and that'll get delivered back to us on Monday, and we'll try and hang them for 3 or 4 days in our fridge before we cook them up at the farm.
And how often do you go to the abattoir?
We go to the abattoir generally once a week, unless I forget something and we have to go another time, so sometimes twice a week. But usually once a week, and then it keeps us a good turnaround of fresh meat in the fridge at the farm.
We've got a 100-year lease at the farm, and we run the livestock management at the farm shop, Ben's in the butchery. That's our own separate commercial business, and that pays a rent back to the Fordhall Community Land Initiative. But the difference with our landlord is that our landlord's also slightly involved with the farm, because it's here to hold the land for community benefit. And it does that by using the farm for anything that's not farming related. For example, we have a forest school, and every Wednesday we have a local school that comes for half a day, uses the woodland to teach outdoors. And that's all about building independence in the children and confidence, conversational skills, communication skills, and trying to get away from this whole cotton wool society by using the outdoor environment. They use the farm for volunteering opportunities such as Chris and Helena, who are here at the moment, and also for events. And really anything that can think of that gets people onto the farm to help increase awareness about food and farming and benefits the local community. We also have a farm trail and picnic area. but the actual livestock management is the responsibility of the tenant farmer, and at the moment it's working very well.
Oh, this earth must not be plowed. Oh, this earth must not be plowed.
Oh, this earth must not be plowed. While here we stand to guard the land.
Nature will do the work will never.
And the earth rivers the plough. No, this earth must not be plowed.
Every teaspoonful of soil contains millions of tiny organisms. My earth creatures! They're constantly processing the soil and building up its fertility. Now, just as in May's yogurt and my coffin, all these bacteria operate within their own temperature zones, depending on how deep in the soil they live. The deepest ones never see the sunlight. Leave them alone and they'll do the work for you. But if you break the soil up with a plough, they are displaced. They die and decay. For the deepest organisms, exposure to sunlight is fatal. Thank you, that was grand. Thank you so much. The answer is minimal interference. That's it. Minimal interference.
No, this earth must not be plowed.
Oh, the little insects and microbes that keep the soil healthy. And those are just the ones you can see. Farmer's best friend, because they break down the nutrients, mix them in and send them back out as soil and nutrients that are available for the plant. And that's what he relied on to make the farm fertile again and to allow his grass to grow to feed his cows. And Dad always believed that was a sustainable system, kept the world going for millions of years, and he wanted to use that to build a sustainable farm at Fordhall. My late father, Arthur Hollins, took over Fordhall back in 1929 when he was only 14 years of age. And at that time the land was being very heavily farmed, it was very intensive, and it was very much into chemical fertilisers. And when Dad took on the farm was in debt, and we've got very light sandy soils here, and it didn't take very long for those soils to essentially give up. They'd lost all their natural nutrients and they were relying completely upon the chemical fertiliser Dad was putting onto the land, because that's what his dad had done and he didn't know any other way to begin with.
On the farm we have an organic farming system called foggage farming. One of our big reasons for farming organically is because we believe it's as close to being natural as we can. Also we don't rely on any artificial inputs into the farm, so we don't use any artificial fertilisers, and we have very small use of diesel and oil on the farm. So the high fuel prices which we're seeing at the moment have a very small impact on us. Our foggage farming system relies very much upon grazed grass, and we preserve grass through the summer for the cattle to graze in the winter. On our farm we have a lot of lowland, very wet meadows, as well as a lot of very high sandy ground. We try and graze all the cattle and sheep in the lowland meadows in the summer and try and save some grass on the high ground for winter grazing. As you can see, all our sheep are grazing outside now. We've had to diversify on the farm to ensure that our farm's profitable, just like my father did 50 years ago. Dad's always made cheeses, and then they began to make yogurts and ice cream on the farm, and they did local deliveries, delivering their produce to other shops. Just recently we've increased our diversity on the farm. We've actually just bought a van and a hog roast machine, and we're now starting to add even more value to our products by actually cooking it and serving at weddings and different venues for different people's parties. We're also looking into local deliveries and things with a van, so it's almost for us like a whole cycle coming back around again.
Are you enjoying doing the hog roast, Ben?
Hog roasts are great fun because we actually get to meet the customers, and they actually get to give us direct feedback on what they think of the stock that we're selling. Yeah. This is Libby, one of the pigs which we moved the other day. Looks like she's going to have her piglets probably within the next 24 hours. She's wandering around now collecting up sticks, nettles and grass which she'll use in the ark to make a big nest. The idea of making the nest is it keeps the piglets warm and it stops them wandering off as well. Unfortunately in the process she has actually broken the pig ark, so I'm just about to try and repair it while she's doing this, so fingers crossed I don't get chased.
So one of the biggest problems that Ben and I faced when we tried to take on the tenancy at the farm was the high value of land. This had obviously pushed the value of the land up for the potential that was there to develop it, so right next door to the local town, which put a huge incentive there for the landowner to take the land. It's a big problem right across the country now. Either the land has got hope value attached for development or for redeveloping the buildings, or because inner city people can afford to come and buy a piece of land and a country house and pay more money than a local person perhaps could, which makes it more and more difficult to get into farming unless you've got a huge amount of capital behind you. So Ben and I had to look for alternatives, and that's how the community ownership scheme came about.
We've just brought the cow back in with the calves this afternoon. She'll still have to do this probably for about another week or so, although she looks comfortable with the calves at the moment, and they need to create a really good bond with her adopted calf, so when they go out in the field they don't lose each other or get separated. The calf will always know which one's mother is then. She's still kicking the calf a little bit occasionally, but he's getting used to it now, and hopefully in the next day or two they'll all be okay together and they'll be able to go back out into the paddock. The reason we have a quad bike and not a tractor is partly because our farming system is very extensive and our cattle and sheep stay outdoors all year round. So we don't make lots of silage. We don't have to move silage and different feeds around for them and muck them out in the winter.
Typical of Ben.
Hi Alan. Oh, hello Kate, how you doing? Plus they're so expensive, it just wouldn't be justified for what little bit of work we've got for a tractor here. We do make a bit of hay and we have to top all the grass to take all the seed heads off each year, but that's not enough work to justify the £1,000 a tractor is. So we do have a contractor come in and do the bits of field work for us, and this is my mini tractor, which is used for moving livestock around, checking animals, rounding animals up and that kind of thing.
And his phone goes again.
Hello? So it's actually a bit more useful than a tractor a lot of the time because we can get down into all the wetland meadows, and it's quite good fun as well.
Should have filmed when it was all fresh and ready to go.
Hey.
Should have filmed when it was all fresh and going quick.
I fill my hat up with water. So nice. That is so nice.
And essentially that's why Dad went organic and why the farm has been chemical free for over 65 years now, ever since just after the Second World War. And one of the biggest reasons we want to fight to save it as well, because there's a huge amount of history and heritage here, and we want to keep promoting it. We want to keep building the farm into a sustainable system that doesn't rely upon outside resources. because as farmers that's the only way we can ensure our survival, by selling locally, by having the community involved, and by farming in a way that doesn't involve huge amounts of outside inputs that are primarily based on oil. So we keep going, we're learning about it all the time, we certainly don't know all there is to know, and we're enjoying it, and we're enjoying sharing it with so many people along the way.